All my life, I've been surrounded by heroes. As a kid, I read superhero comic books day and night, even in school and when I should have been doing my homework. And then I began drawing my own superheroes, especially in Hebrew school, where I was inspired by Bible stories. I turned Samson into Super Samson, a real mensch. The Golem became the Golem hero, defender of the Jews of the ghetto. And I even made Moses into a superhero that I called Mighty Moses. And when I grew up, I became a professional comic book artist, the best job in the world. I got to draw a lot of my favorite superheroes for a living. And I created lots of new superheroes, like the entire Legion of Legends and Heroes. I created all those characters. But the most important superhero in my life is my grandson, Benji. He developed real superpowers, but it didn't look that way at first on account of his autism. We knew something was wrong early on. He was kind of detached, and he only learned to speak a few words. His name, he knew, but he didn't say too much else. Once I retired from the comic book business, I began to babysit for him a lot. He'd come over to my house, and his favorite place was sitting in front of my comic book artwork. He'd stare at it for hours with a big smile on his face. It was like the pictures were telling him stories. His favorite was my sketch of the Legion of Legends and Heroes. And then one day I thought, hey, maybe he'd like to try drawing. So I gave him a marker and some paper, and nothing. He didn't know what to do. So I put the marker in his hand and moved it over the paper. This got a smile, but it took weeks before he did it on his own. Once he did, he'd scribble a few lines and say, Benji. Then I watched as, over time, those scribbles that he called Benji got better and better, and after a long time, they really were becoming Benji. And not just Benji. He eventually got so good, he created Super Benji, the boy with stupendous powers. And then we had a lot of fun together. He'd draw Super Benji, and I'd draw a super villain, and we'd make a little comic strip together. Now, I've been surrounded by superheroes all my life, but my grandson, he was a true, real-life superhero. When he got a little older, Benji started an expensive therapy program. The medical insurance paid fair, so I sold some of my original artwork to help pay for it, but not the Legion of Legends and Heroes, Benji's favorite. Well, Benji was making great progress in the program. He was beginning to have a real life now. But he also began losing interest in drawing Super Benji. But you know what? It's all right, because Benji is becoming a real mensch. And we even had a bar mitzvah for him. So, even though he doesn't draw Super Benji anymore, to me, he'll always be Super Benji, the young man with stupendous powers.